Well, howdy there, y'all. Yamasaki here. Welcome back to the channel. And today is part 2 of the 1980 Toyota 4x4 pickup restoration. Right there. So stay tuned and let's rock and roll. Alrighty, so in the last video we covered basically me Herculining the inside of the cab here, and it's now in the garage. We've also got an extra dash piece, the whole front firewall of another Toyota. Unfortunately, this pickup got scrapped, got hit by 2 deer back in the day, completely screwed up the front end. And this truck right here, what used to be, is what my dad cut the frame in half right where the bed was and formed a trailer out of the long bed of that truck. So now its dash has been sitting outside for years next to the Oakland, and we finally got it inside, and basically we're using it as a template to figure out what the hell goes all in this area. And what I did last night after I got home from work, is you can see my tape on both sides. That is to make a clean line right to the corner here with Herculiner. So I did that last night, 2 coats. I also did up in this area here where there was bare metal where the old original liner from the factory was. So I got that done. And then I started looking around and figuring out on this dash where everything goes. The first thing I found, the wiring harness. And the wiring harness for my pickup was in here. I'll go ahead and show you guys. This is the wood shop. It's where I put almost all the parts that we need for my Toyota. Hood, fenders, 2 steering columns. One of them's a tilt wheel, the other one's the original. We're gonna put a tilt wheel in my truck, of course. Grill, lights, gauge cluster, climate control, just a whole bunch of parts. And I saw that wiring harness and I'm like, I'm gonna go get my wiring harness. And I figured out that it goes on these clips in here, these wire bands, and they can be unraveled, and the wiring harness goes, I don't know if you can see, but down in there's a hole, and the wiring harness goes through that hole, goes all the way across the dash. There it is right there, comes down, another band, comes down here, back through another hole. And I'll show you on my pickup here. I got this dash piece in, but I'll show you why there's a problem with me putting this in a little bit later. But, something on the camera here. Anyway, there's the wiring harness. Basically, the only parts that are in here right now are the wiring harness and the dash frame. And as you can see, it goes up through there, through that hole right there. Goes through here. It's got these little rubber pieces that plug this hole so dirt and grime and snow and water don't get in the cab there. And it does the same over here on this side. It goes through that hole. So I banded it together, as you can see. It's got those bands, it goes on those bands, runs through, and you fish it through those holes. And the way I found out was right here. Where the wiring harness started is right here. This is an emissions control electronic box. I'm not sure what it does, but I saw that wire and I traced it up. Sure enough, it goes to the wiring harness. So I found it right here in my truck, found the wire, plugged it in. The fuse box right here, it bolts on to the bottom of the frame, or of the dash. does the same thing here. Right there. There's your example. And then I started looking more, and we have our clutch pedal already in, but it's going to need to be replaced, at least the cylinder wise. This whole brake piece, this brake assembly, it goes up and it gets on this frame right here, this big ass bracket, and it bolts on back here, and one of its pieces, it goes through the firewall there and bolts on to the bottom of the dash frame. So if you go over, it goes all the way through that hole there, bolts on there, it bolts on back here too, and this is it right here. This is the next part that I found, which is essential, and it goes up in there. But if I can kind of show you how it works, it kind of goes in there like that. I can't get it fully in there because there's too much stuff in the way right now. But there's another piece. That's all I've been doing. Aside from getting the rest of the Herculiner on, I've just been trying to figure out what parts go where. And to be honest, I thought, me and my dad both thought this will be a big undertaking, which it still is to a certain extent, but there's actually not a lot of parts on this truck. I mean, it's basic. You just gotta look. Okay, wiring harness, that went on first, obviously, because you can't get the damn thing through if you have this big freaking dash assembly in there. And I figured out that this is a light right here. It goes on back in here, just like that, and it heats up your dash display. Talk about old school. It's just a light lighting up some embossed stuff. I also found out right here, my climate control levers. This top one here, if you can see, is defrost, heat, bilevel, and vent. That top lever right here closes this thing up, as you can see, just like that. So that shuts off your main air right here, which there is a vent that goes right here, and then under that, what bolts right here, and on the sides here, right here, and right here, is your amperes and oil pressure gauge, which I'll go ahead and get, but I'll show you again. There's your levers right there on that assembly. There's the bottom lever, the middle switch, and then the top switch right there. And that also bolts on to the dash frame. So once again, we go to our parts, and I found that piece right here. That is your climate control system right there. Just cables. Where did I see? And then here's my pressure, my oil pressure, and my amperes. And I just took it over here, and I lined it up right there. Sure enough, that's where it goes. Only problem is, I don't know where this other bracket is, but it's right, there's one right there that we can rob. Only problem is it's cracked, and I don't think we have another one of these, so I don't know if we can just find some small plastic pieces and shape it back into its form or not. But put that right there. I also found out that this funky looking tube goes to the pickups as well. And this is also part of your climate control. There's a lot of climate control parts, probably more so than any other part, but it goes up here, right here, and it goes through, and I think it goes in this dead space back in here. But that goes up, and that's one of your heaters or whatever. And I don't know if you can see back there, but there's a hole right there. And so this piece will go up in there kind of like that. So it'll be right around this area up here. So as you can see, there's the hole for that air vent right there. So that's another piece. I was for sure thinking this was, I don't know, some sort of duct work for a house or something, but it's not. The fenders are pretty easy. They take 13 screws, to be exact, to bolt on. So last night I just placed it on my truck, just like that. And man, that looks good already. But you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws right there. It bolts right here, along with your lower trim bumper. And your bumper would go right there. Your grill, your lights, your light plastics, turn signals, your reflector lights. It also bolts on back here. And if I'm not mistaken, it bolts on 2 more times down here. So that's a lot of hardware just for one fender. But yeah. But every single one of these Toyota videos, guys, I'm going to show you exactly what I've been doing and where parts go, because that's one thing I cannot find on YouTube, is a really, really, really in-depth video on where everything goes. And this is a perfect example on how to rebuild a 1980 Toyota pickup, because it was already disassembled like it was getting built from the factory. I mean, the guy we bought it from completely tore this entire truck apart because the engine was going out on it, or it just needed a simple fix. So basically we are starting from the bottom up. And yeah, I was also trying to figure out how the lights go. The actual light bulbs themselves have 3 bolting or screw spots right here on each side. One right there, and right there. Your grill, I'll go ahead and get that and show you where that goes. And then I'll show you where I'm stuck at for now, after I show you where this piece goes. This piece, the grill, which is one of the prettiest parts on the truck, I will say. Oh, crap. I won't be able to put it on because I stupidly put that on right there. It almost looked identical to this one. But as you can see, it doesn't take that kind of mount right there. It's got to be able to go into that slot like this one right there. That's how it would go in. But there would be a piece of plastic in there so you could put a screw in there. But if you can see how that goes, that's how it's going to look. Which looks pretty darn good to me. So I'll go ahead and put this back. And then I'll show you where I'm stuck at on the dash. I'm probably going to end up having to take it off again. But that's easy enough. It's just 4 screws. Or, yeah, 4 screws. But climb up here. I got new bolts. They're not original because they have to have a Phillips head in the top there, but there's 4 going up top there. In order to get this dash piece out, if your truck was fully rebuilt, you're going to have to take the glass out because you can't get anything back there to get those bolts. But if you can see right there is a nut inside of the body and a hole right there. What that is placement for a bracket right here. This piece right here. This is where I'm stuck at. I can get this one off. I cannot get this one off. Why? There is no space. Unless I want to try and force it out with a wrench and bend and put a little dent in the dash frame. I'm going to have to take this entire dash piece out. Unfortunately, which that would be simple because, like I said, there's 4 bolts on top here and those 2 brackets. Problem is this thing and whatever else is connected, like the brake assembly. So yeah, that's where I'm stuck at right now. This air box, or not the air box, but the glove box. That doesn't go like that. It goes pretty much just like that. Someone put an air freshener on the bottom of this thing, but just to show you, that's gonna go in there pretty much just like that. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I don't know why it's not going all the way in though, but yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing, guys, is just figuring out where parts go and what we need. It's going to be a big project, but shoot, I think we're already 2 steps ahead. I did that last night, and I figured out where the harness goes and a little bit on what this dash is doing here. But good thing about it is pretty much those were 10mm. I guarantee you a little bit of Ryobi action. I'm a Ryobi fan, by the way, guys. I like my Ryobi. But I like all power tools. So if that fits, which it does. So that's 10mm. The fuse box bolts were 10mm too. There's a lot of 10mm on these old Toyota pickups that I'm finding out. Like that looks like a 10mm. Those aren't 10mm, but those look like 10mm. That's probably a 10mm. Just so many places for 10mm hardware to go. But yeah, and then that'll go right about there, because those are the zip ties. Very brittle zip ties. That'll go right there. This other one will go right there. I'm not sure if it leads down here at all, but probably separate wires do. So there's that. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much what I've been doing. There's not much else I can show you. But that is pretty much what I've been up to. It's just figuring out where the parts go and what parts we need. And, you know, this ain't gonna take that long. It really won't. Not as long as I thought. I mean, we're still gonna have to find all the components that go in here, like the coil pack, and I know there's one part that goes over there that has a whole bunch of tubes or whatever going out. I don't know what the hell that does. But still much work to do, but I don't think it will take that long. If we find all the parts that we need, and all the hardware, and figure out where it goes, then we're right on time. It won't take that long if we just keep at it. But this is going to be one freaking awesome truck someday. That's for sure. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more content. Yamasaki out. See y'all later. And stay tuned for part 3.